Welcome to the Drive with Lauren and Karl. I am Lauren Fix with my good friend and co-host Karl Brauer, and we have a lot to talk about today. Great cars we've been reviewing, cars that you want to hear about from Toyota, from Ford. We're going to talk about some other things that are impacting you. How you doing, Karl?
I'm doing great. And you're right. I was looking at today's show lineup and was kind of excited. It's like, wow, this is a packed show, whether it's cool new things happening with some Toyota products, cool new things happening with some Ford aftermarket products that I think Ford people are going to really be interested in, or crazy things happening with maybe the car market itself,
Yeah.
both in terms of values and what we're tracking at iSeeCars and in terms of values that maybe need to be tracked by somebody because they might not represent reality. But we'll get into all of that in this show. I think we're going to start out though with maybe one of the most controversial topics right now,
Yep.
which of course is George Orwell. Sorry, I mean 1984. Sorry, I mean Axos cameras. I don't know why I'm confusing these things,
You
Lauren.
mean
What
flock
are we talking about?
cameras? Flock.
Block
Flock
and
with
Axon? I don't
Axon.
know. I don't know.
Well, we've all seen the light. You've probably seen it on the news. You've probably heard about it online. You probably can't get away with any social media without seeing those little cameras on those posts with those little solar panels. And a lot of people are very unhappy about it. I do hear some people say, well, listen, I don't do anything wrong. So why in the world am I, worried about these cameras? Well, the fact is all this data is being collected and it impacts you because the data that it collects is not just you as the driver, but your car, what color it is, the license plate, which is what they are originally designed for, whether you have a dent or a ding or a bumper sticker or a roof rack. But it's also collecting the Bluetooth information of you and whoever's in the car with you. But the car is collecting that too. What are we doing with all this data? Well, a lot of people are blaming Flock specifically, but there are other brands, Axon. There's about 10 different companies, including Motorola and some other well-known companies. That data is being collected and used in increasing your insurance rates. And you're like, I don't speed, Karl. I don't speed. I don't do anything wrong. What am I worried about? Well, all that data is being used to know everything about you. And I think that's what people don't realize.
Well, and this is the crazy thing, Lauren. And what I think is probably worrying me the most is that I do feel like ultimately this is probably a genie we're never going to get put back in the bottle no matter what we do, because this is a technology thing. And we've had the ability to record things with a visual device for like almost, well, over 100 years, if you want to
Yeah.
technically talk about cameras. And we've had small digital cameras that you could stick in various places and record, secretly for another several decades. The problem was, or maybe the protection was, all that footage, what were you going to do with it? Who's going to sit there 24/7? If you're a security guard in a building, you're supposed to sit there for 8 hours straight over a midnight shift, like I did years
Right.
ago at a casino before I left Colorado, and watch the place and stare at those live feeds. But if you're trying to track all the license plates out there and all the cars and all the people and all the Bluetooth equipment, who the heck's going to catalog that? Well, we now know the answer to who's cataloging all that, Lauren.
Computers.
You might have heard. You might have heard it before. It rhymes with say bye. Okay, so if we've got this technology now that can not only watch us but then analyze us and track us and decide and then have parameters that it's told to look out for and to be on the alert for and to tie things together with. Now we've got the data centers, we've got all this AI, and now there's someone that can not just record it, but can sift through it very
Right.
time effectively and cost effectively. And that technology all exists, Lauren. So if we make a big noise and there's a big legislative pushback and we lose block and axon cameras, it's just going to come back in some other form. They're going to start using the
Absolutely.
cameras on our phone and our microphones, which they may already be doing to some
They're
extent. Who
doing
knows?
that.
You,
They're doing
you've
that now.
already
We
talked
already
about
know that.
school buses. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, school buses, FedEx trucks, UPS trucks.
Garbage
These
trucks.
guys come to. If we outlaw cameras on poles, how much more of a legislative thing of a fight is it to go back to the well again when they go to UPS and FedEx and say, we're going to write you $1 billion check if you let us put a camera on every one of your trucks?
They're already doing
You
that.
know,
FedEx already has an
garbage
agreement.
trucks.
Yeah, that's already in
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
Yeah, so you think about
So
that and you think, wow, what are you doing with all that? Well, AI can then say, obviously, the good side of it, we'll look at the positive side is, hey, I would like to locate a vehicle that was stolen or a child or an elderly person that's lost, all good stuff. But
right.
the difficulty is finding that vehicle. And still is the problem. And if you ever had a vehicle stolen, which I have, you don't know till the police officer calls you and says, hey, Karl, we found your car. But On
Yeah.
the other side of it, why are they tracking everyone that didn't do anything wrong? And what are you doing with that data? Those where those big data centers are being filled up with information. And we both know that it's being used maybe not for good, and who has access to it. We've seen police officers get fired in multiple states tracking exes, potential girlfriends, their kids, friends, just being nosy. Hey, I wonder where I can go with this. And all of that is accessible to them. And that information is supposed to go away. But if you're an insurance company or a marketing company who buys that information, it doesn't go away. I bought that information. And so they get to keep that information. So even if it does go away in
Yeah.
30 days, that information's still there.
You mean you're saying that there's a chance a human might abuse a technology, Lauren? Use it as it's not
No.
intentionally meant to be used?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ex-
So this is the scary thing, and this is where I feel like as a society we may or may not agree with this, but I'm not sure on the technological side if we can even stop it at this point. But
It's a serious
we'll be
problem and it's
back with
really
more.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We'll be right back with more. We're going to talk about a lot more, maybe upbeat things for the rest of the
Yes.
show, but we did want to get that in there because we feel like, if nothing else, Lauren, it's our job to make sure at least our audience is aware. At least
Yep.
awareness, you should at least know.
Absolutely. We
All
get to
right, we'll be
talk about
back with
afford.
more.
We're going to talk about affordability. So come right back with us.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. And this segment is brought to you by Karl Brauer Cars. That is my YouTube channel where I'm putting up a couple of videos a week on various models. Sometimes I have interviews with uh, executives across the industry, but usually it's about car models like the Mercedes Maybach 680 that I drove recently, or the Ford FPS 800S, an 800 horsepower Ford, modified by Ford through the custom garage, which we're going to talk more about in the next segment. But Karl Bauer Cars on YouTube, that's my channel. Check it out. This segment, we're going to talk about pricing and specifically used car pricing because where I'm an executive analyst at iSeeCars.com, we're always tracking the used prices for vehicles. And it's gotten a little crazy, as all of us know, but we've got the numbers just so you can confirm how crazy it has gotten, Lauren.
Yeah.
The
Affordability is a
average,
big word for
oh my
everyone. I
God,
don't care how much you make.
affordability.
Nobody wants to spend more for a vehicle, especially, and I keep telling people, you know what? Don't buy a new car, buy a certified pre-owned, buy a used car. You're going to get your best value. I know there are people that want new cars and that's why they're being sold, but I think you need to really start looking heavily and carefully at that used car market. And iSeeCars does a great job giving you a lot of options and a lot of research information that you don't get anywhere else.
Yeah, no, we're always tracking the market and we're trying to help our consumers and our users understand where their best deals are. But we do want people to understand that since 2019, pre-COVID, the average 3-year-old car, because that's a good kind of midpoint in the used car market, has gone up 38% or $9,000 since
Wow.
2019, Lauren. Before the pandemic,
$9,000? That's a lot.
$9,000 is the average price increase for a 3-year-old used car from 2019 to today. Before the pandemic, a $20,000 used car budget would get you access to 49.5% of the 1 to 5-year-old used car market. You got 20 grand, you're looking for a 1 to 5-year-old used car, not a very old car, you're going to get a lot of nice cars for that.
Yeah.
You had access to 49 point, call it 50, you had 50% of the market you could buy of a 1 to 5-year-old used car in 2019. Today, 11.4% of the market is what you've got
Wow.
access to with that same 20 grand. The used
That's
cars have
really
gone crazy.
restrictive. That's super
And in
restrictive.
and in 2019, if you wanted to buy if you wanted to find the majority of used cars 1 to 5 years old that were below 20,000, you had only had to go 4 years back. I told you at 20,000, you had access to about half the market. So it makes sense that if you just go back 4 years in the 1 to 5-year-old market in 2019, the majority of cars were available for under 20 grand. Today, you want the majority of used cars to be below 20 grand. 7 years. You got to go back 7 years now, Lauren, for the majority of used
Wow.
cars to be priced below $20,000. So the short version of this is that if you are a used car shopper and whatever your budget's at, maybe it's 25, maybe it's 30, whatever your budget's at, you have to buy an older car with more miles, substantially older car with substantially more miles than you did 5, 6 years ago before the pandemic. And that's, a reality that you're going to have to deal with. And by the way, if you buy an older car with more miles, what's that mean, Lauren?
Well,
Probably more maintenance costs.
right. Yeah, your insurance might be lower, but when you buy an older
Right.
car, it's been worn, it's been used, and the maintenance on that could be anything from brakes to exhaust to electrical issues to just wear and tear that happens on suspension components and engine parts that you would never consider on a vehicle that was 1 to 3 years old or even 5 years old. So seven
Yep.
years, that's crazy, Carl.
7 years is how far you back. If your budget's 20 grand and you're trying to find and you're trying to be very likely to get a car that you want otherwise, and you got 20 grand,
And that's a lot
on
of money.
average, you got to go 7 years back. Now, some examples were like the Hyundai Elantra. It was like 12 or 13. A 3-year-old Hyundai Elantra was like 12 or 13 grand in 2019. Now it's like 24 grand. A Camry was like 14 or 15. Now it's like 24 grand. So a
Wow.
lot, we're not just talking about like, fancy cars and premium cars. A lot of
Normal
what people would
cars.
have
Yeah.
considered mainstream high volume cars that anyone should have access to for 20 grand, a used version. Now, the 3-year-old ones, at least you don't. Now, 7-year-old one, get a 7-year-old Elantra or Camry for, if you go back that far. But now, like we just said, you're buying a 7-year-old car. And so you think about it, you've had to go older to stay under your budget up front. But now your budget for maintenance and ownership costs is probably going to have to be higher.
That's unreal. I think that people really need to get their arms around that information because $20,000 is a lot of money. I don't care who you are. But when you're thinking about, I get a car for my kid to go to college, and you think you're going to get them something newer, reliable with the newest safety features, and then you realize, oh, we are way outside that price point. And that's where that affordability factor comes into play. And I think this is a big issue. So make sure that if you are looking for a used car, get an ASE certified technician to go through that vehicle top to bottom, especially an older car at 7 years old. You need like a green, yellow, red list. Green, this car is great. Excellent purchase. Really well done. Yellow, yeah, you're going to need some brakes. It's going to need this kind of maintenance. Or red, this car has been flood damage. This car has been an accident. It has major expensive, service that needs to be done. That's where you need to walk away from those cars. And if you can do the work yourself, you can always save a few dollars.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back right after this break with The Drive with Lauren and Karl.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. This segment is brought to you by Classic Tube. If you're restoring a car, rebuilding a car, maybe you just want to keep your car running on the road and you need replacement brake lines, fuel lines, transmission lines, there is nothing worse than bending your own tubes. That's why Classic Tube is in business. They will bend them in stainless steel so they'll never rust or need to be replaced again, or in steel with different fittings. Check out their catalog. It's all online at classictube.com. That's CLASSIC tube, TUBE.com. All made in America, nothing made overseas, all made right here in the USA. All right, Karl, you just went on a very interesting event, which I personally am glad I didn't go because I am not a camper. My idea of camping is a Red Roof Inn. But you are like literally camping, but you got a chance to drive the new 2027 Toyota Sequoia and the Toyota Tundra.
Yeah, yeah, and it was definitely roughing it. That's about, they'll make you camp on some of these trips, but usually even the camping people are like, oh yeah, it's glamping. It's not really camping.
Not this
This was
one.
camping.
Yeah.
Lauren, the tent. I'm right at 6 feet. My head was touching one side of one end of the tent. My feet were touching the other.
No
Okay, just so you
way.
know how big the tent was. I mean, it
We
was
have
a
a
one
friend
man
who's like
tent.
our friend Brian. He's like 6'10". He could never do that.
Oh, I was like, wow, I've got friends that would fit in this tent. I barely fit at 6 feet, and I'm on an air
Wow.
mattress. And let's just say I didn't sleep great that night. But hey, that was part of the experience because what
Ha.
this was about was off-roading. This was a pure off-road adventure-oriented press trip. And it was multiple days. Toyota has this new habit of doing multiple models and taking multiple days because, people who haven't done
They got
done
you.
this or our listeners, well, there's usually a travel day, drive day, travel day. That's how it is. You fly in, you have an opening dinner, you drive all the next day, you have a nice dinner, and you fly out the next morning. That's how these work. This was a Monday through Friday trip. Okay. You flew in
Big one.
Monday, you flew out Friday, and for 3 days straight, you were driving cars. And you weren't driving them on pavement most of the time. Now, this was based out of Grand Junction, Colorado, which I grew up in
Nice.
Golden, so I'm very familiar with Grand Junction. We used to go there for Thanksgiving every year. I love the city. And this was outside of Grand Junction. And actually, it got pretty close to Moab where we were camping.
Wow.
And it was pretty cool, Lauren. What Toyota has done is they have upgraded the Sequoia and the Tundra in two different ways for 27. First, we've all heard of Trailhunter as a trim that they've introduced fairly
Yeah.
recently. It's been a big hit on Forerunners and Tacomas, right? Well,
Mm,
now they've added a Trailhunter package to the Sequoia and the Tundra. So this is not a trim,
nice.
it's a package. And it's important because what they basically mean is you could get different trim levels and then add the package of Trail Hunter. And if you do, you get what you would expect. You get the off-road tires, you get the underbody skid plates, you get a locking differential, you get additional trail rated driving modes that are meant for going off-road.
Mhm.
And of course, you get cool things like the bronze wheels that are very Trail
Oh,
Hunter
and those
oriented. There's
old
that
emu
bronze.
shocks too. Those are really good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So you get some really nice upgrades that make the vehicle much more capable off-road. And
Old man
what's
emu.
neat
Let
is
me
to
correct that. Old man
old
emu.
man emu. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. And that name cracks me up. It's like, okay, whoever was in the marketing department thought up that name. But
Yeah.
old man emu
The
shocks and
tongue
suspension
twister.
tuning.
Yes.
Yes. And when you're all done, you get these full-size body-on-frame vehicles, Sequoias or Tundras, that are that much more capable off-road. But you didn't have to go all the way to like TRD Pro level to get there. So it's potentially more accessible for people who want to have an off-road
Makes sense.
capable vehicle. And the other important thing is, because we're talking about TRD Pro in a second, is that this is for overlanding. The suspension tuning isn't for higher speed running, which is kind of what TRD Pro is. It's kind of closer to the Raptor. It's where you're supposed to go fast and jump over like kind of ruts and imperfections off road. This is for like max articulation, lower speed travel, go wherever you want. That's what the Trail Hunter philosophy is on all the vehicles, including the new Tundra and Sequoia, plus the 4Runner and Tacoma they've been on. So you get Trail Hunter package on a Sequoia or Tundra to go off-road and live somewhere for a couple of days, like they made us do in the tent.
So what is
Now, if you go
overlanding? Can you define that for our listeners? Because I think a lot of people don't
overlanding,
heard the term but don't know what
overlanding
it means.
is the simple way is overlanding is off-roading for multiple days, not going up to an off-road park for an afternoon or even an 8-hour period, but you start and end in your own bed. Overlanding is you leave civilization and go out into the middle of nowhere. And it could be 2 days, it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month.
Wow.
But that's the idea, is that you disappear from civilization, you overland. And that's what Trail Hunter is supposed to do.
And you did
TRD
that?
Pro, that's what we did. That's what
And
we went
no
and found this cool
Wi-Fi,
cave.
no cell service, none of
No, we
that?
were out in the middle of nowhere. It was really neat. I
That's
mean, it was
really
cool to be away
disconnected.
from the constant connected world. But then if you go TRD Pro, and that's what they've also got, they've had those trims forever. Well, now what they've got is they've got a TRD Pro package that you can get the TRD Pro package now has adjustable shocks is the big news. So Lauren, once up until 27, if you got a TRD Pro level Sequoia or Tundra, you got a suspension tuning meant for off-roading. Now you've got what are called QS3, Quick Select 3 Fox shocks with a
Oh,
new remote reservoir, which carries more oil capacity, fluid capacity that stays cooler, and 3 levels of tuning. And all you do is reach up. You got to park the cars. You can reach up with the tire. And
right.
there's 3 detents. Number 2 detent is essentially the tuning that you get on the current TRD Pros that are already available. 1 is actually a little softer, more comfortable,
The
and
street.
3 is a little stiffer and more aggressive. So they've essentially widened the capabilities of the TRD Pro package or the TRD Pro trim from a single to 3 different levels of suspension tuning that are very easy to dial in. And they took us to an aggressive off-road park, and we drove on very crazy stuff. I've got it all in my video. And we
Wow.
did crazy things in these vehicles, and it was really cool and impressive. And it just shows that if you want to do aggressive off-roading, more high speed, kind of pure off-roading versus the overlanding thing, the TRD Pro levels of the Sequoia and Tundra are only that much more capable because of these advanced new selectable levels of tuning, shocks, Fox shocks. And there's a
I
bunch
got
of
a
other
quick
changes.
question for you. You got to answer
Yeah.
this. Did you come across any tarantulas, scorpions, snakes, any of those interesting creatures?
No, but I've got a very quick story. They did also have us do karting, believe it or not, as part of this on a paved road for
Okay.
part of this trip. And there was a prairie dog that literally loved to stand at the apex of one of the corners and watch us go by. He just stood there. He clearly was there for a long time. Wasn't the sound and everything, nothing bothered him. And also, I just would throw out there that there were 2 heats and they were staggered and all after you got your time trials. And I won the first heat.
Good
I
job,
placed
Karl.
first. So
All right, we'll be right
it was
back.
a fun trip.
Yeah,
All right, we'll be back on more. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl, and this is Karl on location with Jack Ferguson. He is the engineering manager for Toyota's Performance Products, and he is going to walk us through the changes, many of which are
suspension related, but we're also going to look at some of the cosmetic changes for the 2027 Toyota Tundra, and specifically the Tundra TRD Pro. Jack, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Appreciate it. Howdy,
Absolutely. No, we love having experts on that can give us all the skinny on these things.
Absolutely.
And we're going to, right behind us, start taking a look at this very cool Toyota Tundra TRD Pro for 2027 and what changed. So
excited to show you.
We'll flip it around here. And Jack, you start us through. Let's take a look at the kind of front end cosmetic upgrades.
This will be the first part that people see. So we've got obviously new front end design here. Had several changes. So we'll talk to some that specifically affect the Pro, and then a couple that affect the whole lineup. So biggest change you'll see is the styling of the front end, the new front grille. Couple key items to point out here. First, for the Pro, we've moved the light bar lower. This light bar also is upgraded with some of the technology that we developed in the Tacoma. This lets us nearly double the light output, and it also kind of optimizes the beam pattern for a wider spread to really supplement the high beams when you're off-road and need that wider view, to keep an eye out for wildlife, obstacles, that sort of thing. Continue with the rigid fog lights. A key point here is these rectangular fog lights, whether they're the rigids that are standard on the Pro, or some of the other grades, they are moved lower in the bumper. So one key point for that, for anybody looking for the 3-inch lift kit, they no longer need to be removed for that. So that's a new feature for this year. And what I'm sure a lot of folks will be focused on are the recovery points. So after much feedback, we added the recovery points to the front bumper. So these are standard on Pro, and I think available on several other models as well. On Pro they are red. Key point on these is they are strong in the tension direction, but they're also designed to break away in a frontal collision. So strong this way, but able to break away safely if you do have a frontal accident.
And we love the red color. I'm sure the TRD fans do too.
It does really pop. So moving around the side, we can come in here and get to the party piece. So some of these parts will look familiar from prior model years. Stabilizer bar, the red spring, and the aluminum upper control arm. But what's new here is the Fox shocks. So we had Fox in the previous generation. These are updated, so a couple changes. First being the piggyback reservoir. So this gets us more oil volume, more heat dissipation. Second, you'll see the QS3 logo, Quick Switch 3. So that is the mechanical adjustment right here. So you can see, flip through 3 modes here. Strong detent so you can feel it, so you don't really have to see it. You can do this blind. That is an adjustment to the compression side, and we've changed it a little bit. So if you're familiar with it from Tacoma or 4Runner, this is a second generation of that technology. So we've learned a lot as we've continued to work with this new platform, and some of the things we've been able to do are expand the adjustment range, specifically at the low travel speed for the shock. So what that lets us do is really differentiate the ride and handling character across the 3 modes. What you'll see with Tundra and Sequoia as this update is Mode 2 will be very close to what a current Pro customer is used to. So if you're happy with that, that's going to be home for you. For those that were looking for a little more comfort, which is some feedback that we heard from the market, and we wanted to take that to heart, Mode 1 will give you a little bit more comfort. It's softer in that slower compression speed range. And then for those that are looking for even more performance, Mode 3 actually ramps the compression up even further in the low speed. That will let you get both slows down the events more quickly when you're off-road, but it also gives you a little bit more handling precision on-road if you're in a smooth paved scenario, but you might be doing more turning like a mountain drive.
So you can really use it in both areas. It's not just good for off-roading depending on the off-road course or the off-road conditions. It's also good for on-road driving if you want a little less body roll.
Exactly, that's the biggest thing. It's really, we wanted the customer to be able to personalize the truck to their preference and their driving scene.
Now, this is the Tundra TRD Pro, as we mentioned, the 2027, and this is, of course, a display model, so that's why it's got no wheels on this side, so we can take a close look at those really cool new shocks. But there's been other upgrades that have happened. For instance, the not the TRD package, but the Trail Hunter package is now available also on the Toyota Tundra, which it's been around for a couple years on 4Runner and on Tacoma, which are the mid-size vehicles, but now you've got these full-size trucks and the Sequoia, full-size 3-row SUV, and you can say, I want Trail Hunter Mojo in my full-size truck or SUV from Toyota.
That's right. Mojo is a good word for it. there is a little bit of a different path we've taken. With the Tundra, it is a trail hunter package rather than a grade. So part of the reasoning for that is to bring that package in at a little bit more approachable price point. So the content's not quite the same as what you would see on the compacts, but it's definitely been tuned with a similar philosophy and similar goals in mind. So with that, we're prioritizing more off-road confidence and comfort, especially for longer range off-road driving.
Yeah, like an overlanding thing.
Yep, exactly.
You know, my understanding is that, well, the Pro that's sitting behind us right now might be better for more extreme kind of higher speed potentially type of stuff. The Trail Hunter package might be better for, you know, maybe lower speed, crazier kind of articulation. I mean, I guess they'll both have the same rough suspension movement,
suspension travel's
but
gonna
the
be similar.
speed at which those movements are happening, you know, you're going to be going slower, you're going to be in 4 low, you're going to be kind of walking your way up a steep, you know, ledge or multi-ledge rock face, and that Trail Hunter package now on the Tundra or the Sequoia is going to really help you do that.
Exactly. More for that low speed, long haul, you know, getting to and from campsites, you know, paddling, all sorts of remote activities that anybody may want to take these trucks out and enjoy.
This is great, Jack. I really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through this, because we know that these models in general, whether it's Tacomas and 4Runners or Tundras and Sequoias, Toyota's always interested in expanding the capabilities and the buyer appeal to these vehicles. You know, just widen what they're capable of, and literally that's what these QS 3 shocks do. They literally just widen what was already a very capable truck to a further degree of comfort and capability.
Exactly. It's about giving the customers the choice.
This is great. All right, well, thank you again, and we will be right back with more on The Drive with Lauren and Karl.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl, and we are now discussing Ford customization with our special guest, Matt Simpson, who is Executive Director of Ford Customization and the Ford Custom Garage effort that I was fortunate enough to experience recently. Matt, give us some background on what drove the concept of Ford Customization and Ford Custom Garage.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me here to talk about it. What really drove it was seeing what our customers were already doing with their Fords. We see a very high rate of personalization across Ford customers today. Almost half of our customers doing some form, which is above our benchmarks for our competitors. And it comes down to the portfolio that we have around trucks and off-road and sports car. And so it was an effort to lean into that space more, give customers more of what they want, and to do so in a way that fits within the industrial system of a major automaker, which often means needing to go outside of the main factory setting. So that was really the impetus to it, and that's led us to bring together the 3 different brands that we have of genuine Ford accessories and then Ford racing parts for all the parts that make your car go really fast or lift it or lower it. And then our latest offering is Ford Custom Garage, of really just total turnkey packages that we do outside of the main production system.
Now, Matt, I'm a Ford person and a Ford owner, and I've customized my cars. So back in the days in the 60s, it was over-the-counter parts. And then in the 80s, we had Ford Performance parts or Ford Motorsport. And we've had a bunch of iterations of that throughout the years. How is this different from buying a crate motor over the counter, or buying a decal kit, or buying a supercharger, whatever that might be? How is it different today than what it was in the past?
Yeah, so the beauty of it is that that old system is still there. And we see that a lot with the Ford Racing Parts brand, which is, you know, the brand obviously as Ford Performance turned into Ford Racing earlier this year. We similarly updated the parts catalog to it. Because there are some customers that want the DIY thing and they want to go, you know, part by part, and they want to find out what fits and put it all together. So we love them. We can, you know, we still offer the full catalog of Ford Racing Parts for them. What is new about specifically the Ford Custom Garage is it came out of this desire from seeing customers that wanted that level of build. They wanted something different. They wanted more performance, or they wanted something more theirs, but they didn't want to go through the same hassle, right? And some people love the hassle, and for a lot of people, they get really turned off by it. So that's really what started with the Ford Custom Garage, which was let's give an easy button for customers and also our dealerships. Some dealers are very good at doing their own customization. A lot of them aren't in that game at all. And so with Custom Garage, we effectively bundle together the accessories designed to work to each other. A lot of them have the unique type of calibration on them as well. And with one part number, all of the content can get installed by the time the customer takes delivery. So it's what we like to call our easy button for customization.
So I
I
assume
like that. And
go ahead, Karl. Sorry.
and you can do this not only when you first purchase the car and still get the 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty, but you can also do it after you've purchased the car. If you buy a new Mustang, and let's say you have a certain level of skill, and then you start going to weekend events and driving and getting much better on your track performance, and you realize, man, I could use more power and more stopping power and maybe some suspension tuning, you can go back to Ford Custom Garage, right? And still have a package added on a year after you bought the car.
Yeah. So the most benefits certainly are the customers buying the car new, where it can happen all before it even lands at the dealer. But if you're an existing customer and you've got a vehicle designed to receive a custom garage package, so you have that V8 Mustang and you want to put on our FP 800S package that take it up to 800 horsepower with the lowering kit with the suspension tune, you can add it after the fact through your dealer. Warranty is still valid as long as it's done by a Ford dealer or a certified tech. And some of our dealers like that as well. Sometimes they might have some inventory sitting there a little bit longer, and then they'll opt to add a custom garage package onto it to give it a little bit more spice and get it moving.
It's a smart idea. Now, I always wonder, like, the nice thing is that I can order the if I want a Mustang or a Bronco or a truck, I can order it this way, just to confirm for our listeners and viewers. I can order it with all the goodies I want. I own a Bronco Raptor, so I could order a new
Mhm.
one with all the off-road equipment I want on it, and I can put that into my lease or my purchase.
Yes, yeah. For Ford Custom Garage, the way it works is effectively it's one option box that is being checked by either you or your dealer when it's being ordered. So the vehicle will come, all the parts are upfit on it. So our Bronco ORV is a great example of that. That's the one with all the off-road goodies for our non-Raptors.
Mhm.
Customer, they'll take delivery of it, everything's installed, and they can roll it into their existing payments. Most of them are residualized by Ford Credit, which means you can finance or lease it through Ford Credit, and the factory warranty is there as well. So it's the worry-free
Wow.
method that we're trying to lean into.
I think making sure the warranty continues is a big thing for a lot of customers. When you put a lot of aftermarket parts on, you avoid the warranty, whether especially with engine components and such. But if you can order it and still leave that warranty included, I think that'll make customers very happy.
Yeah.
Big
No, I
factor.
mean, we
So
definitely hear it as well.
tell tell us about other examples. You talked about the FP of 800S. What are some other customization options you have from Ford Custom Garage as a turnkey option?
Yeah, well, the menu ranges from mild to wild. We make sure we want to lean into both, right? So there's an entry level of packages that are really popular across Bronco in particular and F-150, that packages like our matte black appearance upgrade or the dark trail on the F-150. And those, there's less content in those packages. It's a lift, it's a wheel and tire, it's a graphic, right? So it's just a really good entry point into customization. And what we like to say is that most of the customers, they won't stop there, but they're gonna get the bug by starting off with that Dark Trail F-150 and then kind of continue their accessorization journey from there. So you can do something more kind of on the low end there, or something more appearance based, and you can take it all the way higher where we bring in a lot of our Ford racing parts together. So our highest end performance outcomes are that Mustang FP 800S. We've got our F-150 FP 700S, which takes your V8 to 700 horsepower. And then our latest one coming in that line is our Maverick SV300T. So our goal is to have a wide range of very high performance, very high impact, as well as more of maybe an entry point into the world of personalization.
Wow. And this is for the full lineup at Ford Motor Company, because you've got a wide array of obviously SUVs and trucks and cars. Well, car essentially with the Mustang. But can you do it with like a Mach E? Can you do it with I don't know, some another vehicle that you might not think about?
Right now, we've got packages available on Bronco, F-150, Super Duty, and Mustang, with that Maverick coming later this year. So we're scaling pretty heavily. The program launched last year. Our vision is to have packages available across the whole Ford showroom by the end of the decade that we're working on.
That's fabulous, Matt. Well, thank you for coming on and talking to us about this. I think personalization is a huge element for a lot of customers. I think the studies I've heard is that younger buyers particularly really like that. So I think it's a good way to appeal to an increasingly younger crowd that's coming in and buying cars for a brand like Ford. So good move. It was fun getting to experience some of them a few weeks ago at your event, and I appreciate you coming on and telling us all about them.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Matt. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. We've had a very exciting show, and this segment is brought to you by Car Coach Reports. If you're looking for more on what we're talking about, a deeper dive, check out Car Coach Reports. We cut through all of the filtering of stuff you see out there and give you the real news on what's affecting you, not just on your cars, but what's going on in the industry, and that includes flock cameras. All right, Karl, as a person, I love going to the auctions, and that's one of my favorite things to do is to monitor the auctions, go to the auctions, whether it be Broad Arrow or Gooding or any of them. Or Sotheby's is always fun, but we've been seeing car prices go through the roof, and you talked about that in affordability, but when you're talking about collector cars, there's something going on. If you're interested, I don't care if you're looking at a $5,000 collector car or a $500,000 collector car. This is an interesting story.
Yeah, I have been hearing rumblings about this. And if you're on various social media feeds, what's cool, I just started following this guy because I'm like, this guy's fascinating. I think he's got his finger on the pulse of the market. There are various dealers out there that are happy to talk about and show you really kind of behind the curtain how they negotiate car prices and what's going on with their sales. And this guy in back east, he's in New Jersey, he had a very interesting and hard to deny bottom line story that he personally, it wasn't third, my second cousin, through three people I know. This guy told the story. Yeah. And he had a car up for sale on Bring a Trailer, and it was a Ferrari. I think it was a 48 Pista, and it went up to $654,000, which was
way over
about 150 plus thousand more than that market for that car should be. But there were two bidders on Bring a Trailer, and they both seemed to want it until the auction was over, Lauren. Then all of a sudden, the lead bidder, top bidder, decided he didn't want any more. Then they went to the second bidder. He didn't want any more either.
And they were the two final bidders bidding it up way over its value, which throws a flag.
Yes, and especially the dealer, the guy trying to sell the car, noted that it's still listed as sold on Bring a Trailer. So now you got two guys who probably both own a 488 Pista. They want to try to sell theirs soon. So they both bid against each other with no intention to buy. They drive the price up. Bring a Trailer listed as sold. And everyone who looks at the results later doesn't ever happen to see this feed from this guy on social media like I did. Says, "Whoa, Pistas are going for $650 and all. I thought I could only get about $5 for mine. I'm going to put mine for sale. I'm going to list it at $625 just so I can get it sold quickly." And he's still
looking to buy one and you're out of
the
the market too. Goes the other way.
Yeah.
You're interested in buying one and you thought you could afford one, and now you're like, "Oh, these are just gone ridiculous." And we see this all the time.
Yeah. So that's just one specific story, but my understanding is that this is not unusual. Like, this is a common thing, more common than I would have thought, and probably you too, Lauren. But what have you heard? Anything along these lines?
We've discussed this. My husband and I have discussed this. People in the community and auction houses have discussed it. Like, what do you do to stop this situation? And I think that is a big problem. And we're all talking about this. So are they artificially inflating these prices, and what's going to happen? And we're going to cover this in future episodes, what's going on at Monterey, because when those cars cross the block, the buyers are in the room. There's no falsification. So we're going to find out if the market is overinflated and that bubble's about to pop, or these prices all moved up with all of this market manipulation.
Yeah, that's right. That's what's great about like in-person auctions is it's a lot more real. You don't have, keyboard warriors in their mom's basement throwing bids out there.
People fraudulently upping the price. Because when you're at a Mecum auction, for example, or a Barrett Jackson auction, and you see someone throw the paddle up and they bid and they're in the room, they don't come to you later and you go, "Yeah, I didn't want it." No.
Yeah.
You are you're pre-approved. They've got your line of credit. You signed an agreement when you got that bidder paddle that if you bid on it, it's yours, baby.
Yep, you get to buy it, whether you decided you didn't want it later and
Always
you and your buddy were
resell it.
hoping to drive the market up. Yeah. So I'm anxious to see what we're going to see. Monterey's coming up for both of us and all, and I know you're going to be all over the auctions. I might try to make it to one actually too. I don't usually go, but I've got enough free time this year. I might make it by because I'm fascinated by the atmosphere. I love seeing the cars go through the process and across the block, and I'm really going to want to see, as you're talking about, what is the actual market for a lot of these cars that may or may not be accurately represented on sites like Bring a Trailer and Cars and Bids and others that may or may not be really selling these cars versus just putting prices out there.
Which means do your homework before you buy a collector car of any type. You can use the Hagerty market value. Go check out everything you can. Go on the forums. Start talking to people. Don't make a decision without doing your homework and talking to people in the community.
100%, Lauren. That's always the way to go, especially when you're spending big money.
Yes.
This has been a fun show. I think we've
Yeah.
gotten a lot of great topics covered here.
And more
we
coming in
will,
the
of
future
course-
weeks. Great interviews, great cars, great events, and we'll bring you along with us. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, The Drive Car Show.
You've been listening to The Drive, your trusted source for the latest car news, expert reviews, and real insights into the automotive world. Thanks for riding along with us today. You can check out the entire archive of every episode on our YouTube channel, The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and join the conversation by leaving your comments. We love hearing from you. Until next time, stay safe, enjoy the ride, and we'll see you right back here on The Drive.